Hi guys, and welcome to the Lifestyle Design Secrets podcast, where we talk about fitness, nutrition, mindset, and a whole lot more. Thank you for everyone who's listened to all our episodes so far and taken the time to leave a review. If you do enjoy this episode and want the free content to keep on coming, please do take 2 seconds to leave us a 5-star review. Thanks again. Now let's dive in. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. Today I'm really excited to be recording this episode with Alex Often from Central Fitness, who many of you might know if you're local to Cromwell. Alex, you've got a few gyms all over the country now, haven't you?
Yeah, we've got 4 now. We've got Cromwell was the original, and so we started with Cromwell, and then we opened up Picton sort of 6 months before COVID hit, and then Temuka we opened 1 week before COVID hit, and then our most recent one we've purchased is Kaikoura, so that's just actually transitioned into Essential Fitness in the last sort of 12 months.
Amazing. Before we get into all the work chat, I'm going to get you to introduce yourself properly, but to start us off, I remember the first time I ever heard about you, and that was through mutual friend John.
Yes.
When I was going to F45 in Queenstown, just lost my massive corporate job with COVID, and I was like stuck in Cromwell, and I was like, what the fuck am I actually going to do? And then I know, but there was no gyms, and there was no gyms. There was online workouts. Les Mills was doing lots of online stuff, and you guys were obviously locked down as well, and you'd obviously had to be quite quick and pivot and start doing workouts online. And I vividly remember watching this. I don't even think reels were a thing at the time, so God knows what it was, like a video that was like you and Jonny doing like some sort of Spartan workout.
Oh my God.
On your driveway.
Yeah, in our driveway.
I remember doing it, messaging you and being like, shit, that's actually really good.
Oh my God, yeah. That was the time, eh? That was like, oh, are you serious? We've got to go online, and it was just being thrown in. And I swear I haven't been as fit in my life ever. We were doing like 3 workouts a day, doing recordings, doing workouts for kids, doing workouts for ourselves, it was mental. It was fun though.
Yeah. And so that's we're digressing already from you, but I love this story because it's far more interesting telling people a story about you through real lived experiences, I reckon, than getting you to falsely introduce yourself. Lots of facts. So yeah, that's really interesting. So people in lockdown either swung one of 2 ways. Did you notice that?
I guess they definitely did, but I guess the community I had around me was the ones that swang one way.
Yeah.
And that was exactly. More fitness, more health, more questions, and just a more, I guess, open-minded willingness to embrace the time that they've been given or gifted, I guess, to get on top of their health and their fitness, which is really cool.
I should tell you now that we have another mutual friend who is a Central Fitness member who I bumped into at the supermarket during lockdown with a trolley full of literally like Doritos and ice cream, and it's like, wow, lockdown, eh? And I was looking at him going,
oh my goodness.
That is not apologized.
Yeah, it wasn't like toilet paper and booze.
Yeah, exactly. To be fair, there was a lot of gin during lockdown, but also probably exercise about 3 times a day just for sanity.
Yes. Oh my goodness, yes. I don't know if I would have been able to survive not being able to get outside.
No, we're very lucky to be where we are.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Rather than in a city, in an apartment.
Yes.
So, back to you, Alex. You are a Cromwell local.
I am a Cromwell local.
Tell me a little bit about you.
Oh, okay. Where do I start? Well, Cromwell local, I actually moved here with my family when I was 5 from down south. I do have a very strong southern R, which you might pick up on in this podcast. So yeah, we moved up when I was 5, and I did all my schooling through Cromwell. I left and did the overseas thing, which was really cool. I went to university and studied physical education and double majored there at Otago.
Where did you? Oh, at Otago.
Yeah, at Otago.
Didn't even know that about you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then I went overseas and did my OE. So I lived in Canada for a year as a nanny, and I was also a swimming coach over there as well. So I was coaching sort of really competitive athletes in Alberta, and then did the States for about 3 months, and then came back to Cromwell, where I met my now husband, Jonny. And yeah, we were sort of cruising in Cromwell. We're like, if we're going to stay here, let's do something cool. And we both had a real passion for the fitness and health. So we opened up Central Fitness Cromwell, and that was our baby. And it turns out we absolutely love it, and we're still doing it. And then
how many years ago was that?
Oh, that was, I keep saying 7 years ago, but I'm not sure how accurate that is now. I think
Have you been saying that for a few years?
Yeah, we started the project in 2016, and then we officially opened in February 2017. So how many years is that? 17, 18, 19, 20.
Oh, golly, 23.
5, 6, 7, yeah, coming up 8. Yeah.
That's exciting. And you had quite a cool story, didn't you? So you actually asked the community, you felt like there was demand for like a 24-hour gym?
Yeah.
How it started? You could tell me better.
Yeah, there was like a sort of, not even whispers, just people talking, like, we should be 24-hour gym, like Cromwell's getting big, blah, blah, blah. So we sort of, we'll reach out and see what the community has to say. So we approached a building that was for lease, said, can we borrow the building for a couple of weekends? And we put it out on a website that we were looking at starting a 24-hour gym, and then just reached out to the community just through a Facebook group, literally up for like no longer than 10 days, just saying, come on down and let us know what you think. And yeah, ended up being on the radio. Like, we had Subway reach out and say, we want to support you by offering food. And then we had like a crazy amount of people come down, and we just said, if we get 100 people basically writing in this form saying that they would sign up if we did it, then we'll do it. And then after the weekend, it was like mental. There were so many people. It was so cool. And we had 150 people say that they were like pro it happening. So I guess we were like, guess we're opening a gym. And then, yeah, looking back now, like after this last 7-8 years of how much I've learned and grown, I look back now to how little I knew back then. Yeah. And it's like, wow, I'm kind of glad I was so green and naive, because I don't think I would have done it if I'd known.
Exactly. I think every kind of business owner is the same, right?
Yeah.
You have to have a certain level of naivety and hope and gusto to just go for it.
Do it. Just leap.
Because otherwise, if we knew the reality, well, I suppose that's why loads of people don't start businesses, isn't it?
Well, I think the best bit of advice I got, and it might have even been Jonny who said it, but I don't think it originated from him. He just said, we'll never be ready. Like, we'll never be ready. We just have to jump. The list will never get done, and we'll never feel like we're absolutely ready to do it. So let's just do it. And what's the worst that could happen? I mean, I guess there was lots of bad things that could happen, but they didn't.
But now here you are, 4 gyms later, which I think is pretty cool. And I think, I suppose I had quite a similar experience to you, losing my job with COVID. I was pushed off a cliff, which is really handy, because like John said, I would probably never have jumped.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So the old, which you guys may have had the same as well, like the golden handcuffs. Have you heard of them?
I've never heard of the golden handcuffs.
So when a job, like, you actually hate it, but it's okay, and it's paying you enough that it makes it not tempting enough to jump off the cliff and start your own business, basically.
It's safe.
So many people have it. When you explain it to them, they're like, oh, and you see people's faces drop as they realize that's exactly what they've got. So it's quite interesting.
A big part of it's probably when you look at an opportunity and you see all the reasons why not to do it. Yeah. Instead of focusing on the reasons why you should.
Yeah.
and you just talk yourself out of it. It's like you fearmonger yourself.
People do that with everything in life, right? So
Yes.
To move us on to our meaty main course, Alex, I want to do a deep dive with you about exercise and exercise motivation. So similarly to business, right?
Yes.
There are so many ways people can talk themselves out of exercise, especially today.
Yeah.
I was listening to a book, which you would probably love, by the way, The Comfort Crisis. Have you heard of it?
Oh, I will add it to my list.
Yeah. Of Amy's list of book recommendations.
Oh, every time we hang out, there's like a new list of books that we need to read, podcasts to listen to.
Yeah, no, well, this guy's really smart. God, I need to look up the names. I'm terrible on this podcast, not actually quoting who stuff came from. But he talks about how back in the day we used to walk everywhere to forage to get our food. And it's the fact that actually, we can order food through a few clicks on Uber Eats now, rather than having to go up into the hills and hunt it.
Yes.
That's one of the key crises. Yeah, exactly. So, and he goes as far as to he quotes a study on escalators. Really interesting. So, what proportion of people do you reckon take the stairs over an escalator, given the choice? Given that we're far too sedentary these days, and people know that taking the stairs is the best option, what percentage do you reckon do it?
I really, really, really want to say that more people take the stairs, but I feel like that's not the case.
Yeah. So the same guy quoted that in 12 years' time, the World Obesity Federation have calculated that over 50% of the world are going to be obese. So not overweight, but so the majority of the population of the entire world is going to be very much overweight or close to obese. Does that change what statistic of people you reckon would choose the stairs?
Still want them to take the stairs. I would say 80% of people would take the escalator or the elevator over the stairs.
10% of people take the stairs.
Yeah, 20%. Yeah.
No, that's what you're saying. Okay.
That's my total ballpark guess. Do not say 100%.
No, it's less than 2% take the stairs.
I wonder why. I wonder if, okay, obviously we can't just jump 50 years into the future, but if, I do wonder how much of it comes down to, probably laziness, but also pain and injury that makes us not take the stairs because it's too painful to take the stairs. I'll just take the escalator. Also time, not having, we're all in this idea that we've got no time.
Rush.
So we're rushed. So what's quicker?
And you've actually kind of hit the nail on the head there. So the comfort crisis talks about the fact that we're so used to being comfortable.
Yeah.
The escalator's there. Why not use it?
Yeah.
And actually, back injuries didn't used to be a thing. And now that we've got modern, squishy chairs and stuff that we all sit on, and our back muscles are so under developed.
Oh, yes.
That's why we've got so much back pain and so much injury. So interesting, isn't it?
It is interesting because it's the number one, if someone's going to come and talk to you about an injury, it's back. And it's lower back.
Yeah.
It's not upper back, it's lower back.
Yeah.
And it's not to say it's not a real injury and it's not a real concern, but it's so, the most of the cases, it's so avoidable. And that's I guess that's the worst part and the best part about it, is that because it's avoidable, we can fix it. But it's also gutting because it's we don't have to be here. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Alex, in a world where less than 2% of people take the stairs and lots of people are full of back injuries, how do you motivate people to exercise? Or how do you motivate yourself, first of all? What makes you want to exercise?
I think that's the most challenging thing. So for me, in keeping active, it's been a part of my life ever. I'm so grateful that as a child, mostly my father kept me active. Like, I was a competitive swimmer. I played team sports. I was always out running. Like, it's always been a part of my life. And so the very few times it hasn't been a part of my life, I've missed it. And I've missed the way that I felt when I was exercising and moving. And so that's what motivates me. But for a lot of people especially that come into the gym, it's like their first time coming into the gym, and exercise hasn't been, I guess, as regular in their life. And so they don't necessarily have that appreciation for it yet. So when it comes to exercising, all as they get is because it's uncomfortable to start with. It's not necessarily fun to exercise at the start. Yeah, it is hard work. And yes, you are going to have sore muscles. So trying to, that's their relationship with exercise, is pain and hard work. And like, why do you want to do that? That's not fun, because they haven't yet experienced the
benefits.
Yeah, the benefits from doing it. So keeping myself motivated, I wouldn't say it's easy, but I think it's certainly easier than it is for others.
Yeah. And you are one of those lucky people who, like, I was a pretty active child. I was a competitive swimmer as well, not as good as you, but dancing, tennis, quote my mum, this is really embarrassing. She made me start ballet at the age of 3 or 4 when she got back from New Zealand, and met quite a few of my relatives who were quite overweight, and decided that if I was going to be big, I was at least going to have good posture.
Oh my goodness.
Thanks, Mum. It's so, ballet was 3 or 4. That was a fun time. I'm not sure I knew what was going on. And then, but yeah, definitely as I went through my teenage years, the exercise kind of fell off. And so I suppose, unlike yourself, I was definitely one of those people who had to try and get back into it in my mid-20s, which it is scary. And it's like, we're probably both at the stage now where, like you said, you miss it when you don't do it. The mental health benefit is just as important, if not more so, than the physical health benefit.
Yeah.
But it's getting yourself there. And as I say, the biggest weight to lift at the gym is the front door.
Oh, yeah.
It's getting there. It's not talking yourself out of it, like this.
Yeah.
Because that's the easier route, right? To take the stream that's already formed, do nothing, it's comfortable, just sit and just chill. It doesn't feel natural to go and lift heavy things and make yourself feel uncomfortable. So there's a certain amount of knowledge and foresight that's required. Like, you kind of have to get so uncomfortable. That's why a lot of people, got a question for you, Charlotte. Why do most people come to you guys? What is it? So what I hear, but I'm thinking weight loss, injury, wanting to build strength, or because the doctor's given them some kind of, you need to move more.
Yeah.
What do you generally see?
I've got a couple of answers for you.
So you were nervous, you wouldn't know what to say. Here we go.
Yeah. Well, let's see if I can get it out. So the top, it was interesting. We put out a question to our members and said, what's your biggest reason for coming to the gym? And we gave them a sort of 10 options, and they just went from their most important, their least important reason for them personally coming to our gym.
Oh, yeah. I'm intrigued.
And it was quite, I was real stoked when I saw the answers. And the answers were, and it could just be because of the style of the gym we have and I guess the vibe we create, I'm not sure, but for the sort of things you'd imagine would come back would be like weight loss and aesthetics, to look good. And those two things were actually the least common reason for them to come to the gym. That was sort of almost just the byproduct of coming.
Yeah.
The top 3 reasons for our members coming here is for mental health. I think was the highest, which was really cool. Yeah. And I think it was cool seeing that as an answer, because you could look at it and feel sad because everyone feels like they need it for their mental health, but then also the fact that everyone feels comfortable saying that's the reason is quite a good feeling.
And yeah, the fact that they acknowledge that and they know that moving their body is good for their mental health.
Yes.
I don't want to interrupt you, so remember the thought that you have, but just a quick stat for everyone that I saw the other day. Exercise is something like 40 to 60% more effective than an antidepressant or anxiety medication.
And I have nothing to back that up apart from my personal belief that it is true.
It absolutely is. Like I constantly say to Scott, like, when I first moved in with him, and he was like, we were talking about, I moved in with 2 stepkids, as you know, and he was like, is there anything that, I was like, what do we do at weekends with kids? You know, like, what do we do? And he was like, well, is there anything that you particularly like want or need to do at the weekend? And obviously, you know, I love wine, but my answer was like sometime on a Saturday.
You can't do that with a 14-year-old.
What's that?
You can't drink wine with a 14-year-old.
No, but no, the like, yeah, my answer was on a Saturday morning, just being able to get out and have an hour to myself.
Yeah.
So I was like, the rest of the time can be for family, but getting out to do some form of exercise on a Saturday morning, just to kind of set yourself up.
Oh, it's
yeah,
it's so important, isn't it? And I guess now we're digressing, but that tends to be what we do. That it's interesting because I'm exactly the same. Like exercise needs to be part of my day, and I've always known that. But it wasn't until like recently I found this journal, and I've never been a journaler. But this one gave me structure. Like I love a list. And
oh,
so
okay,
this is a great list, and it only takes me 10 minutes. But the reason for doing it was because I was curious to see if there was any patterns that stuck out. And for the most part, it just told me what I already knew, but it was nice to have done the experiment to get the data. But the days I didn't exercise were so much worse. Like I have finished that day and I'm like, what's the difference? The difference is I didn't make any time to do any exercise. And I'm not talking like an hour workout at the gym. I'm talking like even just a 15-minute walk. And it was those days that sucked. Like, you know, had the least number of points or whatever. But the days where I exercised, it was almost like a no-brainer. Like it got to the point where in the morning I'm like, I've already exercised. It's going to be a great day. Like, yeah.
And it does. So that's one tricky thing, because I want to come back to your like new members and, you know, or like getting people to that stage where they start to enjoy it. You don't get endorphins from exercise for at least, according to studies, the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, especially if it's intense and you do a burpee for the first time and you just want to vomit. The endorphins that you and I probably get from even like a run or a walk or something, that doesn't hit people for the first few weeks. So it's quite tricky it's really important, I think, not to push yourself too hard. If you do push yourself, you feel sick. And like you said, it's painful. You go, this is too hard, and you stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sorry, back to the question I asked you, and you were telling us why your members come. So mental health over aesthetics. Yeah. What were the other things on that list?
So mental health was high, and then it was general like upkeep and maintenance of their fitness. For a lot of members, that answer tells me that they are either on the path to or already at a place where exercise is part of their life.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then so like exercise isn't a chore. And then the third one was mental health and getting strong. It wasn't losing weight. It was getting strong and being mobile.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really, really cool because mobility, like it's that whole classic, if you don't use it, you lose it. And you don't, I just thought that was really cool that they're focusing on their mobility, not just aesthetics and looking strong, but actually feeling strong and feeling mobile in their bodies.
Yeah, and I think that's both of those are such a huge thing as you age, because as you get older, all it takes, so you lose muscle mass, right? So sarcopenia, as you age, your muscle mass decreases, unless you use it, decreases anyway. But so maintaining muscle as you get older, which lots of people don't really realize, and mobility, like you can there's lots of reels and things, obviously, in my algorithm. Apparently, I'm down the age at the moment. Like my mum started lifting weights at 76.
Yeah.
Type reels, and how they're still progressing. And like, that's amazing. But like, if you start now and just maintain it, I just don't think people just assume that you decline into old age.
Yeah.
Now they reckon like exercising is one of the best anti-aging strategies.
Oh,
so many reasons. Yeah.
And I think the big part is it's like we can't not get old, and our body is going to break down and we are going to die. Like, we can't avoid that. But we can certainly like delay the onset, you know what I mean? Like, and we can in a lot of cases reverse it too. So the funniest thing, well, it's not funny, it's not the right word, but quite often I'll talk to people, and if they're of like an older age bracket, they go, "Oh, I'm not a gym bunny. The gym isn't for me." And I just find it so fascinating, because I'm actually, the gym, you're at the perfect age to be at the gym, because you can like build bone density, you can maintain or actually get better with your mobility. Like, some of the best wins that we've had with like a lot of older clients, one woman, to be fair, she wasn't actually that old. She was probably only in her early 50s, and she felt old, and she said, "I can't get myself off the ground. I can't pull myself out of bed without having to use my arms." And so our goal was just to get more mobile and be able to sit up in bed without having to use your arms. And she came into that.
What did you work on there? Like leg strength, back strength, or mobility, or combination?
Core strength, mobility, and just like functional movement.
Yeah.
And a lot of the programming was literally just getting up from the ground. So she came in after about 6 months, and it was doing it at a manageable pace. Like, it wasn't like she was at the gym every day, like working on this. And she was so excited to tell me that she had sat up in the morning without using her arms. Like, her phone went off, and she just sat up and grabbed her phone, and she'd already done it before she'd realized what she'd done.
Yes.
And she was just so excited to come in and tell me. And I was like, "This is such a fucking cool win." Like, it's not about the selfies or about, I mean, it's all good, looking good and feeling good, but she just had such a unique win, and it was really fun to celebrate that with her.
Yeah, I think I've got a few questions with you about, you mentioned aesthetics and social media, and teenagers are struggling at the moment. So I'm intrigued to have a chat to you about that, and also the misconceptions around girls and weightlifting, which blows my mind, but they're still there. But that's really interesting that you said about that ladies win, because that's what I always try and get down to people when they start my program. There's a huge mindset section at the start now about why. So it's like, I want to lose weight. And it's like, okay, why? And it's like, oh, I want my confidence. I want more confidence. I want to feel better in my body, or I want my clothes to fit again. It's like, okay, cool. Why? Oh, well, I actually struggled to run around with my grandkids last weekend. So, okay, cool, now we're getting somewhere. So actually building your health and your strength so that you can continue to look after your kids and your grandkids for years to come. That's what it's really about. Like, people value healthy and fit aesthetics because of what it means about self-care.
Yes.
You can't fake it. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. It is. I 100% agree with what you're saying. Like, and it's discovering someone's why. And quite often they might not even know what their why is before they start talking to you.
Oh no,
and they'll be like, "Oh crap, is that what's going on in my head? Shit."
Yeah.
And then this like incredible light bulb moment, and you just see this huge shift, like you say, like in their purpose and their reason for doing something. And it's I think they're going to reach their wins a lot quicker when they realize why they're doing something.
Yeah, definitely. I think like your client you were just talking about, I think it's a lot. She's got a really nice, clear reason to come to the gym now, because that's her goal, that's her aim, and she can see that within sight. I think so many people go, "Oh my God, I want to look better," and don't understand why, and that's why they can white knuckle it for a while, and then it gets a bit hard, and so you don't really understand your why. It's very easy to stop. building strength, I think is really cool that came up, getting strong.
Yeah, that, and I think it probably ties quite nicely into, like, I'm curious to hear what you've got to say about the reason why women don't do weights, but that's something that has been becoming more and more dominant. Like, I walk in and I see so many chicks in the weights area, like smashing out weights. Like, even I had a couple of blokes the other day that even acknowledged, like, it's really cool seeing more girls in here, like, lifting weights, and it's really neat. Like, yeah, it's really
good.
well balanced. Yeah, and I just love it. Like, love seeing
that's
women
really
lifting.
good to hear, because, but again, I suppose you and I are we're working with people who are conscious of their health and have probably shown an interest in it, have probably consumed a bit of information about what's good for them.
Yeah.
Like, and weightlifting is like one of the best anti-aging strategies and one of the best methods for burning fat long term, which is quite interesting. I think there's so much though around, in the general layperson's world, of not wanting to lift weights because it will make you bigger. What would you say to that?
I'll say lifting weights can make you bigger if that's your intention, but lifting weights doesn't necessarily make you big, like, every time. That makes sense. Like, if you want to get big lifting weights, we can make that happen. But if you want to just lift weights, you're not going to get big necessarily. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So
and
there's
I
like
think
a way of doing it. Like,
yeah.
And
it's also, I would say, would you agree with me in saying that it's 80 to 90% your nutrition?
Oh yeah, huge.
Yeah.
Nutrition's...
You're not gonna suddenly get massive biceps and shoulders unless you're eating in like a calorie surplus.
Yeah.
And plenty of the right stuff.
Yeah.
And I think what most women don't understand is, like, actually lifting weights can give you that toned. They go, I want to get toned. So they want to lose weight. And it's like, well, you actually don't get toned unless there's muscle underneath the fat as you start to lose it.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people don't realize. They think of muscles and growth. They don't think of it in combination with that kind of feminine aesthetic that they sort of, I suppose, strive for.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. Lifting, like, yeah, it's... I mean, maybe it's just because of the community I surround myself with or find I'm surrounded by. I don't see a lot of that in the gym. A lot of people do come in and say they want to, and the coolest thing is they say, I want to get strong. They don't necessarily say they want to look strong.
Yeah, that's
which means
really
it's really internal and not external. I mean, it's not everyone, and maybe I'm being biased, and that's just who I choose to hear. But they do, people, I'm finding a lot more people coming in here are not necessarily afraid of lifting weights. They just are afraid of doing it wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So they want to get strong and they want to lift weight, but they're like, how do I do it? Like, how do you do anything in the gym? They just don't know. And that's okay. We all had to start somewhere. Like, embrace learning something new for the first time again. It doesn't happen often.
Also terrifying though, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know if you've done much work with teenagers recently, but along the lines of, teenagers and body image, I've been listening to a lot of, I think it's girls between the age of 12 and 18 regularly have feelings of like hopelessness and depression and things. And I think a lot of it's brought about by social media and what you can compare yourself to these days.
Yeah.
Which I think is quite scary and quite terrifying. But do you see many teenage girls in the gym? Do you have much experience?
There is a few teenage girls that come in, and it is interesting because I agree with you that definitely 100% is out there, and it is confronting and quite terrifying that, like, I'd hate to be a teenager now. Like, I thought it was hard when I was a teenager, but no, it was easy breezy. Like, it's hard now.
I was thinking the same because I always say I had a terrible time because it was like Kate Moss era and I was in the centre of London.
Yeah.
And everything was nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. And that was not me.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget when we were on our paddleboarding adventure and I I was going through my summer of a lot of F45 and I was doing an experiment of eating unlimited protein. I was very lean, but I gained some quite massive shoulders in a good way, which I didn't think they looked bad. But about 4 or 5 blokes commented on them over the course of a couple months. Yes, sort of, but it was very strange. Like it was unexpected, and I would say maybe uncalled for.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's quite bizarre. But I'll never forget one of your boyfriends telling you that you looked like a boy from behind.
Yeah. Oh, a few red flags there.
I'm guessing he's not Jonny.
Oh no, definitely not Jonny. Not Jonny. But it was interesting because I think he was just making a comment. I don't think it was necessary. It wasn't
meant maliciously.
No, and I don't even think it was a compliment. I think it was just a comment. But I've always been quite proud of my shoulder, like having broad shoulders. Like I'm like, yeah, I love shoulder day. It's like my favorite day, which is the most random thing. But I quite like having broad shoulders. I guess it's just who I am and part of who I am, and it's part of my swimming. But yeah, it was just him. He said that. I'm glad it didn't bother me, but I guess I never forgot it.
Yeah, I get if you told me like a year or two ago, I guess it stuck with you. It's really interesting. But yeah, if we think back to our childhood, mine was possibly worse than yours being in London, but what girls are exposed to these days.
It's concerning. And there definitely has been a few teenage girls that have come in, and you can see with a lot of them, it's purely just self-confidence. They want to find a place where they can just be confident within themselves. And that's essentially what they're after. But they do, when you talk to them about what they want to achieve, it is superficial. It is, I want to have a plump bum and I want to have a six-pack and I want to feel toned, or I want to be skinnier. And you look at them and you're like, you've got a beautiful body, like, but you can see that you're not confident in it. You're not holding yourself like a confident young person or even any person. So it is, and it does, I guess it does concern me too, because I'm personally not a specialist psychologist or a specialist when it comes to teenagers' minds. I don't even have kids of my own. Like, I mean, I work as a teacher with 5 and 6 year olds, but not teenagers. And they're complex creatures, so I've heard.
Yeah, they absolutely are.
Yeah, I do see, like, it is cool seeing teenagers, and they do tend to come as a tribe, or they come with a friend, or even like they come with their parent, which is quite neat. And you can see the transition from just looking skinny. They actually start to enjoy it, and you can see that because they ask you questions and they want to do things properly, and I really like that. But they spend 30 minutes on average a day in the gym. You might see them, you might not, but I don't know what else they're exposed to in the world, and it's a scary place. Everything's so accessible, and we don't know what to believe and what not to believe.
I think my biggest concern, I've asked lots of my followers and clients and mums, so just asking them about their relationship with their body image and considering what they say in front of their kids. And I think I made quite a few slightly alarmed, because I think so many parents are so critical of themselves. So many mums are going, "Oh, don't take a photo of me, I'm fat. Don't do that. Oh, I'm not going to eat that, or I'm not going to do this." And making really, really detrimental comments about their own body. And like you say, like going to the gym isn't for aesthetics. But how many parents are demonstrating the importance of exercise to their kids is what I wonder. And I worry that even some of the girls who are in the gym, like you say, they're doing a good thing. They're going there, they're carving time out for themselves. Yes, it might be for the wrong reasons to start with, but I think that builds into them enjoying it and them starting to do it for the right reasons when they realize it feels good.
Yeah.
But I do kind of worry, that a lot of people, there's no denying it, like even the middle class, really intelligent mums and dads are getting more obese, less active. Like, it's scary. I suppose we're in the right industry, Alex. But for the future. But like that's what statistics say, and it's quite terrifying. And so I just think for the next generation, I think this generation of parents have got an obligation. Like, I always talk to the boys about exercise, and they love it. But I think what I'm most scared about is those girls in the gym. Yes, back in my day, it might have been, I need to get skinny. Like, I'll go on the treadmill so that I can eat more pasta type mentality, which doesn't work. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But I think now they're on TikTok and Instagram and watching reels of girls doing massive squats with amazing bums. That are probably half Brazilian butt lifts or good leggings. And that's what they're striving for, because they think that it's going to make more people like them. I probably just went down a bit of a dark rabbit hole, sorry.
Yeah, but it is. It does get like that, and it is. I do feel a bit helpless, I think is the word. Like, you can want to help someone and be there to help them, but sometimes it feels like you're just up against the impossible.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely even as an adult though, even as a woman in my 30s who knows better, even I catch myself sometimes going, I wish my bum was a bit perkier. But then I like reset. I'm like, come on now. Like, who cares? Be grateful for a bum. Like, but I guess it concerns me, because for someone who knows better, even I'm catching myself doing that. And then I imagine someone who doesn't necessarily know better, how quickly they can fall into that trap, and how like much of a slippery slope that is. So,
and I would, without aesthetics is a funny one, because most people probably look at you and go, oh my God, I wish I looked like her. But real talk, I suppose we all really have our moments, don't we, of like self-criticism.
oh yeah,
and I think,
we all want what we don't have.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's flipping the switch on, like exercise, rather than going, I have to do this. I get to do this, rather than going, I wish my bum was bigger or perkier, being like, shit, this bum can carry me on quite a few bloody hikes.
Yes.
It can take me horse riding. It can take me on bike rides. Like, it's incredible what your body can do, and trying to look at it from what your body gives you and gifts you, rather than, like the what?
I just want it, instead of focusing on like what you think it might stop you from doing, look at what it allows you to do.
Yeah, very interesting. And on the other thing I was going to ask you about, Alex, is nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
So you and Jonny went gluten-free a few years ago.
Yes.
Yeah? What brought that on?
So originally it was because I've got real shit memory. I always had real shit memory. Like, it's actually scary how shit my memory is. And people are always like, I remember that time you did this. I'm like, no. And they're like, remember you just did this and this and this? I'm like, no, don't remember that. Like, and it's
so interesting.
And even now I still have shit memory, but it was really worrying. So I was listening to that book Grain Brain, and a standout for me was that they talked about, I mean, it's early days, but they talked about how it may have a connection to early onset Alzheimer's, or like memory loss. And I was like, oh, interesting. And then it talked about migraines, and I had started getting headaches. And so I'd been talking about trying gluten-free for a long time, but I am really guilty, and I'm sure people can relate to this. I needed Jonny to do it with me, because if he was allowed to have pasta, I was allowed to have pasta. Like, you can't be eating that pasta around me. That's just mean. Or, if he can have fresh bread, I can have fresh bread. Like, it's almost like if someone else does the naughty thing with you, it's like you're sharing the guilt or sharing like, it doesn't quite count. So I said,
it's really interesting that you mentioned that, because a lot of people eat ice cream on the sofa watching Netflix because their partner does. That's the first time they get to spend together that day, and that's their like guilty pleasure, and you kind of almost give each other permission.
Oh yeah, and then I get it the same with Jonny. Like, if he's a real sucker for sweet treats. He's always like, oh, I feel like a sweet treat. So we'll go to the cafe and he has to have food with his coffee. But he'll just buy a sweet treat. And I'm like, oh, but I won't buy one because I don't want one. But then I'll always have a bite of his, and he knows it now. But then if I feel like a sweet treat one day, once in a blue moon, and he doesn't feel like one, I don't buy one, because I'm like, oh, but I can't have one if he's not going to have one. I've gotten better. If I feel like a sweet treat, I'll just have one. But
you just have one. It's sort of like a little bit of it, but you don't feel like guilty or ashamed or anything like that. It's more, is it sort of, would you describe it as a kind of an accountability thing? Or
an accountability thing, and like it's almost like you say permission. Like, and it's, I think that's all it is.
Which is very interesting, like how the people around us affect what we eat
huge.
or don't eat. And it's so I'm working with a lot of clients at the moment on stop telling people you're on a diet. So when they go and stay with friends and family and things, I think I told you, so rather than doing weekly coaching, you can now grab my program with just message support, and women are loving it. They're nailing it. But the odd thing will come up where I'm like, ooh, I wish I could have a good chat to you about this, because it's things like going away for the weekend and going, I can't eat that, I'm on a diet. And as soon as you say that to someone, that makes your friends and family feel really uncomfortable. Someone that they love is putting themselves through pain. They're putting themselves through restriction. And all they want to do is go, stop it and eat what you want to eat. So it's reframing it in your own head, and also to other people that, oh, no, you're okay. You don't feel like that. You don't want that. You're actually focusing on these things at the moment, and talking to friends and family about it in like a positive light. Because I think as soon as you get, I can't eat that, it's very different to, I don't want to eat that. Or no, I'm okay, thank you. Like, if you have confidence in your own decisions, it's fine. Whereas if you go, I can never imagine you say that. I can't eat that.
I think it's really interesting, because I think people have to be ready. And I think people, and excuse the pun here, it has to be like bite-sized, like goals. So I think the timing was right for me and Jonny to go gluten-free. And so we did it together, and we did it for a month, and then we tested having some gluten, and we both reacted. I mean, we weren't celiac or anything. We didn't vomit or anything like that. But we both felt bloated, lethargic, and we sort of had that mid-afternoon slump. I felt like napping again, it didn't sit well in our guts. And I think it might have just been coincidence that my migraine, like my headaches, came back. Memory
it probably wasn't, Alex. Like they're doing more and more research on it, like every single day. Like so 6 in 10 people are actually intolerant to grains. Like as a whole, not just gluten. So you might not feel it in adverse effects in your stomach, but like you say, it will probably cause bloating, even fatigue, like you've mentioned, or headaches, or some form of adverse reaction. Which is so interesting. And they're also grains and sugars overall, which I think they talk about more broadly in Grain Brain. Sugars and carbohydrates, they're now calling Alzheimer's and dementia type 3 diabetes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's terrifying, but that's exactly what you were talking about. So those brain issues are so closely linked to insulin and
will help.
glucose regulation.
And I think a big part of it is just, I love the concept of a food diary, but like identifying what works for you and what doesn't. So I'm not gonna sit here and say like gluten's the devil and everyone's gonna cut it out of their diet, because it's completely up to each individual and what works for them. But that's just what worked for me and I still have a little bit of gluten in my diet every now and again. Like if I go to a friend's house and they've made these beautiful homemade pizzas and they just have forgotten I'm gluten-free or have no idea, and it has happened before a couple of years ago, they were really good pizzas and I just ate them and I was like, you know what? It's worth it because I get to spend time with my friend and they've done something nice. Like I'm not going to be that person that's like, oh, can't eat that. I guess I have that. I'm grateful that I get to make that choice. But
yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure I said that to you at the wedding last weekend. You were like, "Is that the gluten-free one?" And I was like, "Alex, it's cake."
I think I ate it too.
Is the cake gonna kill you?
Memories a bit foggy from then. Lovely cake though.
Great wedding cake, Hayley. If you're listening, I think she does listen. So,
nice.
Yeah, that's cool. But so, what's really interesting is that you're like, oh, sometimes I do eat it when someone's cooked it for me, and I think what's really interesting is the nuance that comes along with the science, but there's a lot of more kind of, I suppose, experiential data to back it up in terms of what people have told me and what people experience. You can't see that on camera. I'm wiggling my fingers, or if you're listening. On holiday, I can go to Italy and smash a pizza, and yeah, I feel full, but it's made very differently, different processes. So if I went to New World and bought a frozen pizza, and ate it, or just got a random takeaway pizza from Domino's, like all the shit oils and the random crap in it. Because I make the boys pizzas every Thursday, like store-bought ones. That's what they love. That's their Thursday treat. I know what's in them. I read the label. And that would be very different. So it's like enjoying a pizza in a really, really relaxed setting in Italy, or enjoying really, really good ciabatta or a homemade pizza by your friend. Quite different to smashing back a sandwich in a rush during a work day.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. It becomes a whole experience.
Yeah, and I think you're more adept at processing a heavy meal like that when you're sat and relaxed.
Yeah.
And in the right headspace. Completely different to how we usually consume gluten, which is like, I'll eat a sandwich because it's fast.
Yeah. It's knowing how you feel when you eat something too. So eating a glutinous homemade pizza my friend made me doesn't make me feel bad.
No.
Eating a bakery brought sandwich on the go, I'm probably going to feel guilty later eating that. That makes sense. So it's having
Why would you feel guilty? That's quite interesting.
Well, I don't know if guilty is the word, but I've made a promise to myself and my health, because I know that too much gluten it doesn't sit well with me, and I know it doesn't. And so if I go and make the choice to eat gluten, I'm making my body, I know I'm going to make my body feel uncomfortable. It's like I'm intentionally doing it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
so that's the kind of experience you would avoid. Would you say you kind of avoid it? And that would be quite an unmindful decision, right? If you were like, I'm hungry, I just want something quick from the bakery, versus mindfully sitting down and enjoying something your friends cooked.
Yeah. I'd rather do it mindfully. But yeah, I think everyone's just different, and they just got to find what works for you. And I enjoy eating with purpose and eating mindfully. And buying a bakery sandwich on the run is not either of those things.
I think that's so as just as much as the food itself. I think that's half the battle, is when we outsource the preparation of our food.
Yeah.
So like you're saying, your friend cooks beautiful pizza, or if you cook the food for yourself, you've taken time out, you've prepared it, you put quite a lot of effort, you put a lot of resources, so time, effort, energy. You've burnt calories preparing that food, even. Like, it sounds ridiculous. Versus you grab this sandwich that someone else prepared for you. You have no idea what your ingredients are, and you probably shove it down in absolutely no time at all because you're in a hurry.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So I think I've got this theory, and a lot of people are talking about it actually, but like the more of your food preparation that you outsource, the less good it is for you. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I think it changes your mindset too. There's something about, and not everybody has the privilege to be able to do this, but there's something about grabbing some rocket from the garden or grabbing some basil from the garden and just putting it on top of your pasta or on top of your pizza or in your sandwich, and knowing that I made that and it makes you feel good. And like, yeah, it's good for you when you consume it, but the mental side of it is quite fulfilling and satisfying.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, it is fun. And I like you. So funny you said that, because like rocket is my favourite thing in my garden at the moment. Full disclosure, I did not plant any of it. It was all Scott. So like it's absolutely what the
Just eat it.
I just eat it. Yeah, I didn't plant any of it, but I probably eat 90% of it. But yeah, there's something incredible about being able to go out to your own garden and pick food that you can eat. It's got more flavour than what comes from the supermarket. And the other thing that I find really interesting is here. I talked about it. I did a solo episode last week, which was not rushed, but it was quite interesting talking about food marketing. But the difference here we can see between like veggies you grow in your own garden, fruit. We can see fruit here, lots of orchards around. You can literally go up into the hills, hike for 5 to 10k, shoot a deer, carry it heavily back up the hill, bring it home, and you've got, 20 to up to like 50 meals from one animal.
Yeah.
The calories you've exerted doing that, this all came to me when Scott came home from hunting, really, really, really sweaty. And like you see the difference between him coming home really, really sweaty from hunting, and you have 30 meals of venison that we haven't even yet. You still have to butcher it, you still have to prepare it, you still have to turn it into a curry, you still have to cook it on the barbecue as a steak. So the effort that's gone into getting that food, gathering that food, a hunter-gatherer type thing, or planting vegetables in the garden. Like we've had to plant them, wait for them to grow, look after them. Again, the effort and sacrifice required is huge, but it tastes amazing. And then I see him walk out the door, get in his truck, and go to Jolly's to buy an ice cream. And I'm like, the amount of calories exerted is not quite the same. And it's like, it's actually when you compare the nutrition that comes from the two, it's mind blowing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah. The idea of hunting all your own food and growing your own food is such a fun idea, but it can be. I mean, I'm just really grateful that I've got a sister-in-law who is a green thumb? Is that what they call them?
Green fingered, green thumb.
Green thumb. She's very good at gardening.
Yeah. You've got a gorgeous garden, haven't you?
Yeah. So she's always in there, and I'm just treated with all these amazing foods. We went and like harvested the other day, and I was like, oh, I just made this salad with all the stuff from the garden. And then the boys go hunting, and so I was like, and I've just got this bit of meat from the freezer that these boys have hunted, and it just feels real good. I mean, that's not me every day. That was me for 3 days, and then it was all gone. But
yeah, it's the reality of like life today. Is like we're like encouraged to outsource all that, really, aren't we?
Yeah, we don't really
buy salad in a bag. What's that?
Some people don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being busy. We're taught that being busy is cool.
Yeah.
And we don't have enough time to prepare food. That was Shannon's article. Did you read that?
I think I skim read.
Maybe. Yeah. So she loved it, but she's such a busy lady. Shannon's a journalist, for anyone who hasn't read her article, who writes for the ODT and Central Otago News. And she did my 12-week program. And she started off being like, I'm so busy, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And then in her article at the end, she was like, I saved money because I wasn't going out and buying a sandwich and licorice every single day. That was her like lunchtime treat. And then her pain went away, which is amazing. So a lot of her pain. But the real thing I loved was that she found cooking dinner a really, really therapeutic like time out of her day.
Yeah.
And I thought that was amazing. So I think we're taught by so many people, by social media, by everything, like quicker is faster.
Yeah.
Quicker is faster, quicker is better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah.
Range, I think, slowing down. Oh, have you seen the girl dinner trend?
The girl dinner trend?
Girl dinner? Yeah.
What's girl dinner? I mean,
I've heard
of what is it? What do they call it? It's like girl math. I have seen girl math.
What's girl math?
Girl math is when you justify why you can buy like a new dress or why how you can So like the other day,
how many times you'll wear it?
Yeah, the other day I went to the cafe and we ordered like a muffin and a coffee or whatever, and she said, "Oh, are you on our system?" Because I go there all the time. And I said, "Yeah, I am." She said, "Oh, cool, I'll put your name on there so you get a discount." And Johnny's like, "Sweet." And I said, "Yeah, you got to spend money to save money, babe." And she's like, "Yeah, girl math." And I was like, "Oh my god." It actually is. I'm like, but sometimes there is logic to it, but most of the time there's not.
No, that's made my day because that's how I justify like every single like Lululemon purchase, like this top a couple months ago. For like cost per wear, it's probably already down to about $10.
Yeah, there we go.
If you thought about that with every item, God, you'd be broke.
Yeah, I definitely did not think that when my girl math for my wedding dress wasn't how many times will I wear it, because I only planned to wear it once.
Yeah.
Instead it was, I get to only wear this once. I'm going to spend money on it.
Yeah.
So girl math just works for you, right?
It works in whatever way you want it to.
Exactly.
Which is so girl dinners. I love that I'm telling you this, Alex, and you're younger than me. I'll be very honest. It was a 26-year-old. It was a 26-year-old client who told me about this. Girl dinners is a trend on TikTok. Where one girl started it, and it's just blown up. And it's basically girls going, "This is my girl dinner," and it's like a girl eating like from a tub of aioli out of the fridge, or like just eating ice cream. Oh yeah, like eating ice cream for dinner, like basically eating like whatever's left in their cupboard. And then it kind of morphed into like a platter dinner, like whatever's left in the fridge, like cheese and crackers, or cheese and cucumber. And I don't think it like had any malice behind it, but it's really interesting that like what's morphed from like, I wrote an article on it the other day, but like a girl dinner. So if it's a girl just feeding herself, what are you saying? That you don't need to bother buying good food? Like you don't need to bother nourishing yourself, or you're so rushed that you have to eat ice cream from a tub for dinner? Like, I'm very confused. And then, more so than that, whereas what if there was a boy there? Would you cook a whole meal? Very interesting.
I find that fascinating because obviously this must just mean that I'm getting fucking old and out of touch with what young people do these days. But for me, what you just described, I would call like a Jonny dinner. Not quite like a slice of cheese and a bit of carrot, but he will look in the fridge and go, "What have we got to work with?" And he's like a magician. He makes like a big, beautiful meal from like a can of beans and some herbs and spices. Don't know how he does it. So he'll turn nothing into something. Whereas me, I go, "What do I want for dinner tonight?" And I'll look up a recipe and I'll write down a list and I'll go to the supermarket and get all those ingredients and then cook a meal. So I'm like, I just can't, I don't understand this girl dinner.
Yeah,
I honestly thought you were going to say that they'd have like girl dinners when you have a rice cracker for dinner so that you can make up the calories with a tub of ice cream.
It's also that. So that's what it kind of morphed into. And I think my ex-client was saying that her friend was going, "Look at my girl dinner," and it was like carrot, just carrot. So I think there's a lot, what people are questioning is there's being a lot of, I suppose, criticism put on the trend as a whole, for it like really lacking nourishment. Or yeah, like girls eating a couple carrots and they can then eat a tub of ice cream. And then there's all these kind of nutritionists and dietitians jumping on the bandwagon who are going, girls, let's make a healthy girl dinner, and like throwing together some salami, some cucumber, some crackers and cheese.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, much better. Some protein in there, like all a bit processed, but you know, like they're trying to do good things. But I think what it's kind of missing is it's still encouraging girls to rush, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like that they're not worth preparing a meal for. And like it's cool to like just eat snack food. I don't know. But then I was having a chat to someone the other day, and when I totally do it, but like you say, like possibly in a more nutritious way, or kind of like Jonny. If Scott's not here, I'm like, ooh, what can I make?
Yeah.
But it's definitely like what can I nourish myself with that's like absolutely delicious that Scott would probably turn his nose up at? You know, like breakfast for dinner, like a salmon omelette or something.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, where's the meat? So, yeah, but I found it really fascinating. You'll have to get off this podcast and Google some girl dinner.
Oh, it's going to be my like lunchtime conversation starter.
Yeah,
Girl dinner.
it's probably well over now. Like we're so old, it's probably like done and dusted.
Old
Probably a new
news. It'll be like girl breakfast now or something, which is not eating breakfast.
Do you eat breakfast, Alex?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, and that's not anything to do with weight loss or fasting or anything like that. It's just because I find I am not hungry in the morning. I like to train on an empty stomach just with a coffee.
Same.
And I just don't need it. I know that sounds really stupid, but the mornings I feel hungry, or the mornings I feel like eating, I'll eat. And then some days I'm like, I'm just not hungry, I'm going to wait till lunchtime. And then I have lunch food. But it's just because I'm not going to go, oh, fuck, I'm so hungry, and it's only 9 o'clock, I have to wait 3 hours before I can eat.
Yeah.
I'll go, oh, I'm hungry, I'm going to have some food.
You're doing this crazy thing that like lots of clients, like it blows their mind. You're listening to your body, eating if you're hungry and not eating if you're not.
Yeah.
It's a tricky thing to do these days because we've been like wired into when we're meant to eat, and we're meant to eat breakfast, and then if you have had a really sugary breakfast, you might then want more food. So you're listening to your body, but actually your body just wants you to eat more and more and more.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and
I think
it's
there's a lot.
What works for you as well. It's just because something works for someone else doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And it's being open to experimenting and not just settling as well. So experiment with what you feel like eating and what works, because for a lot of people they might say, and this, I'm guilty for this too, I'll say, and now I know, but I won't feel hungry in my tummy won't be growling at me, but my body will be fatigued.
Yeah,
or I'll have foggy brain, and that's telling me I need food, instead of just accepting that I'm fatigued and I have fog brain and going, well, I'm not hungry because my tummy's not growling. Well, yes, you are. Your body's just telling you in a different way that you need to eat some food. Because I totally get that. Like, you can just get sucked into work and be in like a real good flow state, and then you're like, holy shit, it's 3 o'clock, I have not eaten, and you just this little internal growl at yourself. And I do that, and it's not, I mean, I'm getting better at monitoring it now, but I come prepared. I have my lunch with me, I have food with me, so I can stop and eat.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't always have breakfast, but it is definitely my favorite meal of the day, which sounds like an oxymoron, but
no, I'm the same. I don't always have breakfast, but I probably always have brunch. So I probably always even eat by like 11, maybe.
Yeah.
And
then I tend to have my brunch, like I'll have breakfast for lunch.
Yeah.
To have like an egg meal, like eggs on toast or something like that. Actually, I've been telling lots of friends about this. This is like my latest hack. Is my favorite meal has been scrambled eggs with like a a healthy portion of butter in my scrambled
Good.
eggs with chili, garlic powder, salt and pepper. And then I have, I get frozen peas, and like the frozen spinach balls?
Ooh, no, but I'm going to make some today from the garden because like we were talking about, I have way too much. Yeah.
So some spinach, and I put it, because it's frozen, I put it in the microwave for like 3 minutes to warm up or whatever. And then I get fresh mint from the garden, and I blitz it in a food processor or like a NutriBullet or like whatever.
Yum.
And it becomes like the consistency of avocado.
Just mint by itself?
No, mint.
Oh, with the eggs.
And spinach.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So it becomes like this green puree, like almost like, I think my friend described it as baby food. I was like, yeah, it probably is. And and then I I have a slice of toast with my scrambled eggs, and then this like mint and spinach and pea like puree, and that's my lunch.
Yum.
And I rate it because in my mind it's such a good variety and balance for me.
Yeah.
So it's got my fats, it's got my proteins, and it's got my carbs.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I used to do in London, albeit without the incredible garden herbs.
Yeah,
but those. Yeah, it really does. I keep putting fresh mint in our salads, and Scott's like, because he's never eaten like mint from the garden.
So yum.
Unless it's like in a mint sauce.
Or in a mojito.
Or in a mojito, yeah, you know him too well. Probably how he's consumed most mint in his life, to be fair.
No, that's
probably how I've consumed the most of mine. Yeah.
I saw fresh mint in the garden, and I was like, what goes with mint? And I was like, a mojito. So I went to the liquor store and bought all the things I needed to make mojitos.
Oh my goodness. So before we move on to the takeaway dessert, so I'm going to get a couple of things out of you for people to take away, Alex. But so you went to the liquor store, you like a mojito. You're not a huge drinker though, I would say. How would you describe your kind of relationship with alcohol?
I don't know. How would I describe it? I love red wine. I would say. Yeah. I love red wine in winter. Like, I'm a seasonal drinker, so in like the winter time, it's red wine. Like nice, heavy, thick red. Yeah, it's my calling. And then
what's your go-to?
Like a cab sav.
Okay.
Not necessarily local ones, just a deep red.
Yeah.
Oaky, spicy.
Pinot's too light for you.
What's that?
Pinot's too light for you.
It's too light for me. But I'm willing to be proved wrong. And then in the summertime, I tend to gravitate towards like a gin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And but I'm not a big drinker. Like, I might have a blowout. This year, I think I've had 2.
Yeah, like big night.
Like blowouts. And one of them was like Hayley and Leon's
wedding. Everyone who doesn't know Hayley and Leon.
Yeah. So their wedding last weekend, and then the other blowout was probably mine.
Your wedding?
Yeah. And like, it wasn't even...
Good reason.
Like, I'm not on the floor. Like, I'm just more than 3 drinks.
I think you were probably one of the most copious mentors people at the wedding last weekend.
One of the most what?
Copious mentors. Have you not heard that?
No.
Oh, most pulled together, let's just say.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Because I had, you know, you get like, what's it called when you have, is it hangxiety?
Anxiety when you
wake up the next day and you're like, I need to debrief from the night before, but you don't see anyone from the night before, so you just leave wondering.
That's why brunch or lunch or afternoon debrief drinks are so good.
Yeah. So not Netflix.
Funny. Not Netflix. I'm trying to think what I did the day after. Oh, healthy things, I think. Lots of meal prep for the week.
Yeah.
Very lucky. What, sorry?
Yeah, where are we?
Yeah.
Alcohol. That's my relationship with alcohol. 1 or 2 blowouts, and then it's just like 1 or 2 drinks every, like, maybe once or twice a week.
I think you've got a good relationship with alcohol. Do you, I think a lot of clients are noticeably trying to cut back. Possibly for some good reasons, some less good. I think a lot of people think that is their weight loss problem, when I think, well, you've just proven not that you drink an absolute ton, but I probably drink plenty of wine and gin over the course of my weeks, and I think, although it technically inhibits fat loss, I think a lot of people blame alcohol for the issues when actually a lot to do with other things.
Probably got a lot to do with their drink of choice, the rate they consume, and what else they consume when they drink.
While drinking, and the day after.
The day after.
That's the killer.
Yeah.
When you drink loads of sugary drinks, you've got a sugar come down as well as a hangover. And there are hot chips and pizza.
Just carbs.
Like down you.
Yeah. I experienced all of that on Sunday last weekend.
Did you?
I wasn't even that hungover, but you feel sorry for yourself, so you just like write the day off and you just eat. Not that I ate bad, but I certainly ate like a lot more than what I normally would.
Yeah, in terms of quantity and things.
Yeah.
Right, so Alex, because we've gone over an hour. Thought we might.
Yeah, close up.
Not sad about it. It's not impacting your day. So we always do a takeaway dessert on this podcast. What is your takeaway dessert for people?
My takeaway dessert. I actually had like pre-prepared these, but I've like completely lost my train of thought, so I don't know what I said. So a few tips. So I've got do it with friends, but don't rely on them.
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So yes, like I guess a big thing at the moment is me and a group of friends are training for the Spirited Woman next year.
Yeah.
And that's definitely given us a purpose to our training. And we have a lot of fun training together, like going on hikes and bikes and even training in the gym together. But if they can't make it, I'd still do it.
You still have to have that accountability to want to do it yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And I enjoy it. Like I put my podcast on and I just do my thing. And I think if you it is fun doing it with a friend, but do not rely on them. If you start relying on others, you'll never be independent. And that's
I think that's brilliant advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else did I have? I had a couple more. Oh, and another massive thing, which I'm a huge believer in, is celebrate your wins and like be openly proud of yourself and what you've achieved, no matter how small it is.
Yeah.
And what I've done that works for me, and it may work for you, is I have found one person that I trust, and that's Jonny, who I can openly express how proud I am of myself, of something I've achieved that day.
Yeah.
And there's no judgment. And like that little thing might be, Jonny, I got out of bed this morning and I went and swam at the pool and I did the 2Ks. Or it might be as small as, Jonny, today I only had 2 coffees, not 3. Or it's another like little example. It could be.
I love that because we are so like they reckon that's one of the reasons that we can't be happy these days. Is as soon as we achieve something, we're like, okay, great, on to the next.
Yeah,
like big successful. What? Sorry.
Celebrate that shit.
I know it's like achievement amnesia almost, but lots of entrepreneurs and really successful people talk about it. Like they'll launch a book, and like there'll be so much of their happiness is actually in the pursuit of it.
Yeah.
Like for a year or two, or the writing, or they're like, oh, this is so hard, but they know this thing is coming. They launch it and they're like, oh, okay, great, bestseller. What's next?
Yeah.
Or like for me or you, it might be like, oh, that was an amazing hike, or I did whatever today, or blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, okay, what next? Back to the desk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Celebrate them wins. And openly say, I think if you can express that you're proud of yourself and actually say, I'm proud of myself because I did X, Y, Z, it's so much better for your mental health than feeling like you can't. It's almost like if you feel like you can't express how proud you are of yourself for achieving something, then it's almost shame, or like it's not worth celebrating, or not good enough, or someone else's kind of opinion, and it's like it takes all the celebration away.
I think you've touched on a really incredible topic there that I'll just delve into a little bit before we let on go, because and before your next point, because I feel like there's a third. No, I want number 3. But so many of my clients, I feel like, struggle because I wrote an article recently that was called like your dream body won't get you compliments. Because I think a lot of people go, I'm going to reach this panacea of 5 kgs, 10 kgs down. I'm going to feel so much better. Life is going to feel easy and like a breeze. And in reality, you go out with your friends, they go, why don't you want the 4th bottle of rosé? Or why don't you want dessert? What's wrong with you? Are you going to be on a diet forever?
Yeah.
Really, really, like, a lot of criticism. And so I think even with people seeing subtle changes in behavior, or people being more mindful, or people being happier in their own skin, I think it's quite difficult for a lot of people to celebrate their wins, because we're in this culture of like self-depreciation is better, almost.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think most people probably would find it really uncomfortable to do what you're doing.
To say they're proud of themselves.
Yeah.
Mm.
I do.
The best though. It's the best.
Yeah, I need to start doing that. Although I feel like Jonny's I love chats with Jonny. I feel like Jonny's mindfulness level might be a little different to Scott's, and Scott might go, well done, honey, or stare at me blankly for a win, like only having 2 coffees.
Jonny's like, can I read my book now? I'm like, yeah.
So it's not necessarily his reaction, it's you voicing it that's the key.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, I don't, like, it's fun to voice it, but I'm not voicing it to, his response isn't, the affirmation isn't what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's really important.
My own, and it feels good, like feeling proud of yourself.
Yeah, it does. I need to do more of that.
Yeah, you do.
So what's your next one?
A big one is, I think I mentioned it earlier, just embrace, like, don't be ashamed that you don't know. Be kind of almost proud that you don't know, because you're about to learn it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's scary walking into a new place. Like, even now, even being a gym owner, me and Jonny always visit other gyms. It's like almost part of our job now is to go and do like research and just enjoy other gyms. But even I walk into a new gym and it can be scary.
Yeah.
Like, walking into a new gym, but the pure fact that I'm walking into something new, I'm kind of like, go me. Okay. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, be proud of yourself for putting yourself in a potentially vulnerable position.
And that's
just like, allow yourself to be educated.
Yeah, and it's so, like I said the other day, don't let your ego stop you from starting, because what we're terrified of, what everyone's terrified of, is starting a health fitness journey, walking into a gym, and people going, oh, what are you doing here? You don't deserve to be here. All this negative self-talk, exactly like you said, if you're like nervous or scared. And I get it. So which I still haven't, I've got a bit of an announcement that I'm not going to make on this podcast, but that Alex knows. But I've had another bit of a gym hiatus recently, and I keep thinking about going back, but I'm like, it's still a barrier. So gyms that I know and I love, I'm still mentally not there yet. And I think there's a really interesting, like, element to that. And it could be just it's spring and I'm just loving being outdoors. Also a huge part of it. But I do think you and I get nervous at the thought of going into a new gym. People are probably like, oh dear God, there's no hope. Like, it's like, imagine the first time you ever set foot in a gym. It's terrifying. So I get why people are nervous. And I think that's really good advice. So being excited to learn rather than sad that you don't know.
Turning it into the reason why, not the reason why not.
Yeah.
That changes it.
Learning is one of the biggest luxuries, I reckon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love learning.
Is that your last one, Alex?
Yeah. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stop there.
You took quite some convincing to come on here, so I'm incredibly glad that you did and incredibly grateful. And now I feel like I'm going to have to get you back for round 2.
Yeah.
Would you be up for that?
I'd be up for round 2.
Cool. Okay.
There's
Well,
so
on
much
that
more to
note,
share.
what's so much more to share? Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't wait. And the second time will be less scary. Like the
It'll
second
be
time
less
you
It's just, I think the funniest thing about this is that I can see myself. I'm like just looking at you because I don't want to see myself in the thing.
I'm looking at you. Like, it's
Yeah.
weird looking at yourself.
Yeah.
I will say, Alex, don't worry, probably more than 90% of people will be listening to this, not watching the video.
Oh, lovely. Good.
So I take the video, I put the video on YouTube and Spotify and share a couple of reels so that people can see what we talk about. But don't worry, most people will just be listening to our shit chat.
I wonder how long they'll last.
I don't know, but I'll let you know.
Yeah, it's good.
Cool. Thank you everyone for listening, and thank you, Alan.
You are welcome.
See ya. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Lifestyle Design Secrets podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, please do stop and take 2 seconds to subscribe and leave us a review. It means the world to us. If you are curious about working with us or checking out our new bite-sized guides or our full body reset transformation programs, please do head on over to our website, which is www.amysfitnessandnutrition.co.nz. Have a great day.